Question 10. The table shows information about the weights of 60 apples. Part A. Write down the modal class. The modal or mode is the group of highest frequency. If we look to the table, we got the apples weights in grams, and there is 6 groups. So which one do we pick? If you look down the frequency column, there is 20 apples which had the weight from 164 up to 168 grams. This is the one with the highest frequency. So this group here will be the modal class. Let's move to part B in the question 10. Work out an estimate for the total weight of the 60 apples. To estimate the total weight of the 60 apples, first we have to calculate the average weight or the midpoint for each group, because we don't know exactly how much each apple weight. Then multiply this midpoint of each group by its frequency to get the estimated weight for each group. Finally, sum all the estimated weights to get the total weight for the 60 apples. So for the first group, the midpoint or average weight equal to 160 plus 164 by 2 is 162. Multiply it by the frequency or its frequency, which is 12, to get the average weight of this group is 1944. We'll do the same thing for the rest of the groups. To move to second one, the average weight is 164 plus 168 by 2. Multiply the frequency, which is 20. The third group, the average weight is 168 plus 172 by 2 by the frequency, which is 14. The fourth group, 172 plus 176 by 2 by the frequency, which is 7. Plus the fifth group, which is the average weight, 176 plus 180 by 2, multiply the frequency, which is 4, plus the last group, the average weight is 180 plus 184 by 2, multiply the frequency or number of apples, which is 3. Will give us the final answer is 10,120 grams. This is the estimated total weight of the 60 apples. And that is that. Okay, let's continue our journey in question number 10, part C. Using the table above, complete the cumulative frequency table. First, you should understand the difference between the frequency table and the cumulative frequency. For ease of understanding and calculation, I will add the frequency column between the cumulative frequency column and the weight column. The frequency table just organizes the data into categories or groups or classes, whatever you name it. Like what we see here in the table, that the apples weights grouped into classes of weights with equal ranges, started from 160 till 184 grams. And you see that the range is always fixed with value of 4. If you see 164 minus 160 is 4, 168 minus 164 is 4, and so on till 184 minus 180 is 4. While the cumulative frequency tells us how many apples are less or equal to a particular weight, and this particular weight is always the upper bound of each of these classes or groups. So, for instance, we know that 12 apples have a weight greater than 160 grams, but less than or equal to 164 grams. So we just put 12 here. Now, when it comes to how many apples have a weight less than or equal to this upper bound, 168 grams, well, it's the total or the cumulative total of the 12 and 20. In other words, 32 apples have weight of less than or equal to 168 grams. What I did here is add the cumulative frequency of the previous row to the frequency of the current row. And so add 32 to 14 to get the total number of apples less than or equal to 172 grams, which is 46. For the next value, 46 plus 7 is 53 apples, weighted less than or equal to, again, to the upper bound, here 176 grams. Next, the cumulative total of the apples with weight less than or equal to 180 grams is 53 plus 4, which is come to 57 apples. Finally, how many apples equal to or less than 184 grams? Right, it will be 57 plus 3, which is come to 60 apples. That's all we do. Make sure that the last cumulative frequency must equal to the total number of apples, which is 60. If not, that means you did something wrong in your calculation. And that is that. Okay, let's move to part D in our question. On the grid, draw a cumulative frequency graph for your table. To set up the graph, we will plot the cumulative frequency values. We already have them from part C in the question. So in the graph, we have the weight here in x-axis, going from the lowest value, 160 gram, right the way up to the greatest value of 185 grams. And then we have the cumulative frequency in y-axis, where it go from 0 and goes up to our maximum value of 60. Now we need to plot our points on. And we will start with 12. So as we mentioned before, 12 apples are less than or equal to 164. So we need to come up to 164 in x-axis and go up to 12 there. Be careful. There are no apples below or equal to 160. So you should start the drawing from 164, not from 0. Then there are 32 apples less than or equal to 168 grams. So go up to 168 and blot out 32 in. And this is the second point. I will do the same for the other points. So go up to 172, then in x-axis, and 46 in y-axis, and plot the third point. The fourth point in 176 and 53, then 180 to 57. This is the fifth point. And it finished on that 60 up there. So we have the points looking like this. Then draw a smooth curve looking something like this by joining up all the points plotted before. And that is that. Okay, let's continue the graph journey and question 10 part E. Work out an estimate for the interquartile range. The interquartile range is the difference between the upper quartile and the lower quartile. We will use the graph to find the lower and upper quartiles. First, to find the lower quartile from the graph, we have to go quarter the way up y-axis. So we'll go to 15, which is the quarter of 60, along to meet the curve, which will be about here, and then we project down. And the value we've got here will be our estimated lower quartile, which is 164.5. Now we'll work out the upper quartile. So we've got to go 3/4 the way up for the 60. So we have to go to 45 in y-axis, which is the 3rd quarters of 60, and we'll project across to hit the curve here. Then we project down. So 171.5 will be our estimated upper quartile. Finally, to find the estimated interquartile range, we'll subtract 164.5, which is the lower quartile, from 171.5, which is the upper quartile, will give us 7 grams. And that is that.